Time now for everybody's favorite guessing game, What's My Line? Throughout the world, only one company produces all types of business machines and systems, Remington Rand, who now invite you to play What's My Line?
And now, as What's My Line begins its 8th consecutive year on television, let's meet the members of tonight's panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And to my left, the producer of Broadway's newest smash hit, The Hidden River, and more provocatively, my husband, Mr. Martin Gable.
And on my left, Broadway's far-famed Mrs. Richard Kollmar, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to introduce, on my left, another Broadway producer, my partner on Breakfast with Dorothy and Dick, and also Through Life, Richard Kollmar.
And on my left, the incomparable moderator of What's My Line, who hasn't missed a single show in 8 years, John Daly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. It's nice to have our family team on hand, Mr. and Mrs. Gable and Mr. and Mrs. Kollmar. As I think most of you know, Bennett Cerf is vacationing down in the Miami Beach area, but I'm sure he's with us in spirit and on the other side of a television tube, too. We will have some interesting occupations to test our two families on the panel tonight, and we'll later on have a famous mystery guest and see what they can do with that. Now let's meet our first contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Mary Lou Milligan, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs.?
It is Miss.
Miss Milligan, and where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, it's nice to have you with us. The panel, Miss Milligan,
Good
Mr. and
evening.
Mrs. Gable, and Mr. and Mrs. Kollmar. Will you come over here, please, and sit down next to me? I wonder if you're familiar with our scoring system, are you?
Yes, I am.
Fine. If you are, let's let the folks at home and those who are visiting with us here in the theater tonight know exactly what your line is. Panel, Miss Milligan is salaried. And let's begin the general questioning with Martin Gable.
Miss Milligan, you're very fashionably dressed in what Dorothy tells me is an Empire gown. Have you anything to do with fashions?
No, I haven't.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Miss Milligan, you look as if you might be an executive. Would you consider yourself an executive?
Yes, I would.
Do you work in and around or around Pittsburgh?
No, I don't.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Kollmar.
Miss Milligan, you work for a profit-making organization?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you work for any branch of any government, Mrs. Milligan?
Yes, I do.
Could we consider it the federal government?
Yes.
Do you work for a law-enforcing arm of the government?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Gable.
Do you go to the people for whom you perform your services?
Yes, I do.
Do you go to them because they have been derelict in their obligations to the government?
Martin, before we accept this question, I'm a little bit afraid you might have been misled by the answer to the previous one. It is true, I think, in a large sense, that Miss Milligan does go to the people who receive her services, but you might equally, taking another context, consider that they came to her. So don't pay too much attention to that answer.
Thank you very much, John.
Really, I mean it. Thank you. It's worth clarifying.
Thank you, Martin.
It is then possible that they could come to you.
That's right.
Is there any question of money involved in what you do?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Could there be, say, credit involved in what you do?
No.
No, I would not specifically credit. 5 down and 5
I should have
to
known
go.
with the government involved, no credit.
Miss Kilgallen.
Have we established which government we're talking about?
Yes,
Federal, yes.
Oh.
the federal.
Does your work ever take you to Washington?
Yes, it does.
Is that where you might consider your main office was?
Yes.
Are you a member of the legislative branch of the government?
No, I'm not.
That's 6 down and 4 to go. Mr. Kollmar.
Are you connected with the judicial part of the government?
No, I'm not.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you ever wear anything other than the ordinary clothes that we might be wearing every day as women?
Sometimes.
Would it ever be considered the sort of costume that would be immediately recognizable?
Yes, it would.
Could it possibly have anything to do with the armed forces?
Yes, it could.
Would you be associated with the Air Force?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Gable.
Are you associated with the Women's Army Corps?
Yes, I am.
Are you an officer of that corps?
Yes, sir.
And is your duty concerning recruiting or an inspection or some aspect of Army life of that kind?
Yes, it is.
You're doing fine, Martin.
Thank you very much. It is all-embracing, my question, I will admit. Have you to do with recruiting?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you a recruiting officer of the Women's Army?
No.
No, we're going to give you a no on that specific question. 9 down and 1 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Miss Milligan, sir, or ma'am, or however you say it, have you a rank of colonel or above?
Yes, I have.
Well, are you the head of the whole thing?
Yes! Colonel Mary L. Milligan, who is the chief of the WAC,
The Women's
Women's
Army Corps.
Army Corps. Yes, indeed. And I might say, if this is not going to embarrass you, that this is a rather splendid example of the kind of selfless service that so many women have given to our military service. In this case, it's the WAC, because if memory serves me right, you were a school principal, were you not, until wartime came, and then you joined up and spent a very active war period, then stayed with the WAC afterwards, and have
That's
now
right.
advanced to the premier position as
That's
the
right.
colonel of the Women's Army Corps.
Right.
You have honored us by coming to see us. We hope you had some fun, because that's one reason we like to have you with us.
I
And
certainly
you
did.
Gave the panel a lot of trouble. 9 down and 1 to go. Colonel, thank you very much. It's very nice to have had you with us.
I'm delighted to have been here.
Good to see you, ma'am. Well, we came very close to fooling you that time, panel. Perhaps we can do it this time. Will our next challenger please come in and sign in? Right there. CO, Company Officer Jacobs. Is that right? Well, Mr. Jacobs, what does that C stand for? Clarence. What does that O stand for? Ollie. Clarence Ollie Jacobs, is that right? How are you called, Clarence or Ollie?
Jacob.
Ollie? Fine, I'll call you Mr. Jacobs. How's that? Mr. Jacobs, here's the panel. Mr. Jacobs, will you come over here and sit down with me, please? Do you know how we keep score, Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, sir.
Good. Then let's let everybody, inside and outside the theater, except this dear panel of ours, know exactly what your line is. Panel, Mr. Jacobs is self-employed. With that,
You didn't
yes.
say where he was from, John.
Oh, would you like to know where he's from? You want to tell where you're
Jackson,
from?
Michigan.
Jackson, Michigan. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
what a
I didn't mean to leave
revelation.
that out. And all the people from Jackson here in the theater, imagine me leaving a thing like that out. All right, Mr. Jacobs is self-employed, and let's begin the general questioning with Miss Francis.
Mr. Jacobs, is there any product connected with what you do?
No, there isn't.
Is your work something that takes you around the country rather than keeps you in one place?
Yes, it does. It takes me long.
Yes. Is it, would it be more in the sports world than the business world?
Would it be more in the sports world than in the business world?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't think that we would say that. No, that's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, is it more fun than dead serious?
No, it isn't, ma'am.
It's
It
not
isn't?
more fun than dead serious.
It's
Now,
dead-
I would say that we would have to here consider Mr. Jacobs' opinion as overriding, and I think to Mr. Jacobs he would have to consider that it was dead serious rather than fun, Dorothy.
Okay.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Kollmar.
Are people entertained? Do they feel better after having been in contact with you?
Feel better?
Well, the question was, are they entertained or do they feel better? It's a
Yes.
double-barreled question.
Do you work in an enclosure?
I would say that the question very properly might be answered at times, yes.
Do you come into physical contact with these people?
No, I don't think so. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Now, there was such a laugh about enclosure. Is it a unique enclosure, like a snake pit?
No,
Is it an unusual enclosure, one that we would not see every day on the street?
Well, I would have to, I think, Mr. Jacobs, we would agree, yes, that to the degree that there is an enclosure involved and that it is various in character and changing, that at one point or another we might say that it was unusual, wouldn't you?
Well,
I would say so.
Yeah.
Well, do you wear something other than your ordinary suit when you do your job, Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, that's right.
Do people pay to watch you perform whatever it is that you do?
Usually.
Usually, when times are good. Do you use anything extra in your job? Do you handle anything other than just yourself, your own hands and legs?
No.
No accessories at all?
No accessory.
Well, now, here, I think if I may, I'll have a small comment.
Maybe I answered that wrong.
No, I think, well, let's give him a break anyway, shall we?
Don't confuse us, John.
Oh, they won't beat you. You're doing great.
Okay.
You're doing splendidly, pardon me. I think, Miss Francis, we must, to be fair, say that we must consider
There is
our
something else.
accessories around here.
And if you want to be anything, you want to be fair, don't
Oh,
you,
well.
John? Then may I assume that you do not do whatever you do all by yourself?
No, it takes more than one. It
Yes,
takes more than
yeah.
one.
It needs a bit of help.
Do you get this help from anybody in the animal kingdom?
I was afraid she'd get that. Well, weren't you afraid of that? No, that's right. 5 down and 5 to go. Mr. Gable.
Mr. Jacobs, despite the fact that you find your work very serious, its intention is to entertain people. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes. You are then some form of entertainer.
That's right.
And you usually work indoors, although obviously you could work outdoors for a great crowd and so on. Only in that sense might you work outdoors, right?
C'est comme ça, huh?
Could be.
Yes,
No,
it could.
I would say it's more outdoors than indoors.
But it could be that he
it
could
could
work
be either way.
indoors.
Yeah, indoors or outdoors.
Either in or out.
When you go around the country, you and your helpers go as individuals rather than with a body of an entertainment group, like a circus or something of that kind? Would it be fair to say that?
No, that wouldn't be fair to say. No, I don't think so. That's 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well,
Let
then
me
he
give you
does.
one more minute.
Then he does go around with a body of some type of people or
He's
thing.
gregarious, Dorothy.
I
There's
see.
no question about it. He likes people.
Is there anything hazardous about what he does? Well, would we consider it hazardous?
Yes, I think we would.
So do I.
We're not
He
supposed
does
to say
too?
that.
If you don't work,
No,
if you
actually,
don't
I'm
work
sorry.
with
Mr.
the-
Jacobs considers it hazardous, too.
if it takes more than one, is there someone in your, may I call it an act, who throws anything at you?
No.
Such as
No,
knives?
nobody throws anything at him. 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Kollmar. Another 30, 40 seconds.
Would you need special training for the work you do,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Of a kind, yes. Mhm.
Does it involve something, let's say, athletic? Do you have to have physical prowess,
No.
coordination to do it?
No?
No.
No? You're the boss. I wouldn't fight you on this. 8 down and 2 to go. Mr. Jacobs does not feel that he needs coordination or athletic ability. However, I would say that a layman might consider it useful.
This layman, John.
Is it possible, Mr. Jacobs, that you are shot out of anything or up to anything? Oh, are you? Are you
That's
shot
right.
out of a little something?
That's right. Little. Little?
Are you, you don't mean to tell me that you can go through the air without any physical prowess if you're shot out of a cannon?
Mr. Jacobs is a human cannonball, Arlene, and I think he makes a valid point. Once he leaves the cannon, there's not much he can do about it.
Nothing can help him.
It's just going, that's all. Well, Mr. Jacobs, you did pretty well. We took them almost up to that 9-1 again. Gave them a rough time. Thank you. It was very good of you. Thanks a lot for being our guest. In just a moment, we'll meet tonight's mystery. We come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which I've asked my friends on the panel to blindfold themselves, as is the custom. Are the blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, John.
Yes, indeed.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? In the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin it with Dick Kollmar.
All right. Are you in show business?
Yes.
Miss Francis?
It's a lion.
Boy, from that noise, he isn't in show business for long. Would one read about you in motion picture magazines?
Mr. Gable?
From that female cry or geschrei that went up when you came in, do you especially appeal to women?
Well, this might give our guest very properly a little problem, so I'll answer yes.
I wish I could hear his voice once more. Could he say yes now that you've said it?
Did you just say yes?
Is there more than one person there?
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Kollmar.
Was that a yes or a no?
That was a no.
Oh, there is one person. Have you a movie playing in New York right now at a first-run house?
2 down and 8 to go. That's a no answer. Miss Francis?
Would you be considered a young leading man?
That's a yeah, Mr. Gable.
He's cracking up, though.
And you're principally known for your appearances in movies?
That's yeah, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you, I don't know how to phrase this. I mean it as a compliment, but are you the kind that looks awfully well in the torn shirt type role?
No is the answer to that. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Kollmar.
Do you sing or play any musical instrument?
Miss Francis?
Have you, at the present time, a recording that has done fantastically well?
Yeah, Mr. Gable.
Are you better known for your singing than for your acting?
What a question, Lord.
No, that's actually a no answer will stand on that, but so that you're not misled. The record which has been raised by Miss Francis is a very substantial one, and our guest has a reputation as a singer, but predating that is a reputation as an actor. Miss Kilgallen.
Oh. Well, are you also a comedian?
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Kollmar.
Would you be categorized as a juvenile, as we use the term, and I'm afraid we use it a little loosely at times, rather than a leading man?
No, I don't think so. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
Is your first name one that might be used for what we would like to keep on people that we like? Huh?
Yeah.
Is it Tab Hunter?
Tab Hunter. Actually, I saw Tab sing last night. And,
I did too.
On Perry's show.
But I have seen you in a torn shirt now and again, Mr. Hunter.
Well, I hope that's
think
in the
Dorothy
past.
was right.
Well, Tab, I know that record that you made. I sold something close to $2 million. I suppose you're in New York to make another recording.
Well, actually, I'm in New York to start on a tour of the United States in connection with a picture as spokesman on behalf of the Spirit of St. Louis for Warner Brothers.
Oh, Jimmy Stewart's
Yes.
picture.
And I'm quite excited about visiting the different cities.
Oh, so you're going to make a tour doing that? You going to make another record?
Oh, I've already made a few. But listen, you should be commented on your 8th year starting tonight, isn't that right? Tonight is the 8th
Yeah,
year.
this is
I want to tell you, John, isn't that something? John, I've been watching this show since I was in high school, really. I really have.
You had me worried there for a while, man. Had me worried. Well, thank you, Tab. It's nice of you to be a faithful listener, or viewer, rather. Good to have you with us, and I know I speak for the whole gang. You're young and just getting started, but you've shot up like a rocket, and I hope the heaven has no ceiling as far as
God
you're
bless you.
concerned.
Thank
Lots
you.
of success.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you. All right, Colonel, we can go very quickly and give you a chance to see how rapidly you can guess the line. Will our next challenger come in and sign in, please? G. L-A-D-Y-S. Gladys. Heindel, is that right?
That's right.
How are you? Would you, and then come over here and sit down with me. It's Mrs., is it?
Yes, it is.
Mrs. Heindel from York, Pennsylvania. You know how we keep score?
Yes,
Do you?
sir.
Fine.
Yes,
Then let's
sir.
let everybody know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. Let's see how you can do in roughly 2 minutes and a half. Mrs. Heindel is salaried. Let's begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mrs. Heindel, is there products involved in what you do?
Yes, there is.
Is it a product that I might be familiar with?
I don't...
Well, I think
You might, sure.
Would it be found in the home?
Sure.
Well, I have a home. Would it be found in the domestic area of the home, in the kitchen or dining room?
It could be.
Is it small enough to carry around?
Yes.
Is it useful?
Yes, and to a certain extent.
Well, do you mean it also has some pleasurable or decorative properties?
No.
Well, it has some pleasurable or decorative.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's more pleasurable than decorative?
Yes.
Would it be something that you'd use every day if you had it?
Yes, I believe they would.
Is it solid rather than liquid?
It's
Solid.
solid.
Mhm.
Is it at all edible?
No.
Well, no, I think we would have to agree it might be edible in some degree.
Well, that way, yes.
Yeah, all right.
Well, you wouldn't like to eat it, is that it?
No, I wouldn't.
But would, for instance, an animal eat it?
No.
What not to go, Mr. Kollmar? Is this thing you do indigenous to that area of eastern Pennsylvania around York? I'm thinking of the Pennsylvania Dutch bit.
No.
No, I don't think we could describe this as indigenous. It could be done anywhere. Miss Francis?
But it is something you would put in your mouth.
Yes.
Would you chew it?
Yes.
But you would not swallow it.
No.
Is there anything gummy about it?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Gable.
Is this more for children than for adults?
No.
6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Has it any connection with... Well, I'm not an expert on this. I think you are, darling. You had the same idea. And I think you know where it can...
Very
if we're
quickly,
right.
'cause
May I pass to Dick? Because I think he knows
I'm
more
going to
about...
have to flip them.
Is
Time
it snuff?
No, not
False
snuff.
teeth.
Not
False
snuff,
teeth.
not false teeth. The time is up, and Mrs. Heindel packs chewing tobacco. In just a moment, our panel will be back to say goodnight, but now here's a word from next week's. And now, until next week, this is John Daly saying goodnight, Mrs. Gable.
Good night, Mr. Daly. And good night for now, darling. Tab Hunter will be at your place next week. Look out.
Good night for now. Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, darling. I guess Bennett will be back in Dick's place.
I think yes.
Thank you. Good night, John.
Good night. Nice to have had you with us, Dick and Martin. And good night, ladies and gentlemen. And good night, Bennett Cerf, wherever you are.
Travel arrangements on What's My Line are made through American Airlines. American Airlines flies our contestants in luxurious comfort aboard DC-7 flagships. What's My Line is a Mark Goodson, Bill Tautman production in association with the CBS Television Network.